Alien class interrupted by the appearance of human students and the shocking truth behind. The dim blue lights of the Nexus Sigma 5 Orbital Academy hummed softly over the lecture hall, casting a gentle glow on rows of cadets from across the stars. Riley Thorne sat in seat 43A, her short black hair tucked behind one ear as she jotted notes on her datapad. The air felt cool, recycled, with that faint metallic tang common to orbital stations. Professor Alden Price paced at the front, his voice steady as he outlined the delicate threads of interstellar diplomacy, the pacts that held the Concord of 12 Species together with humanity on the fringes. Riley's calm eyes followed him, absorbing every word. She liked these mornings, quiet routines that made the vast galaxy feel a bit smaller, more manageable. Price gestured to a holographic map floating midair, stars twinkling like distant promises. And so, the Treaty of Epsilon Eridani ensured that no single species could dominate trade routes, fostering a balance where his words trailed off as a low rumble built in the walls. Then the alarm hit, sharp and unrelenting. Red lights flashed, syncing with the blare. Security alert, Onyx level, identify human subject at seat 43A. Riley froze, her pen hovering. Her heart skipped, confusion washing over her like a cold wave. What? Me? She glanced around, seeing other cadets shift in their seats, murmurs rippling through the room. The doors hissed open with a pneumatic sigh, and in strode Commander Karvek, his towering saurian frame filling the entrance. Green scales shimmered under the lights, his silver armor etched with Concord insignia. Two guards flanked him, their visors down, hands resting on stun batons. Karvek's eyes, slit and golden, scanned the hall before locking on Riley. The class fell quiet, the kind of silence that presses in heavy. Price adjusted his glasses, his face paling. Commander, this is highly irregular. Karvek ignored him, his deep voice rumbling like gravel under boots. Riley Thorne, verify your identity, now. He stepped forward, the guards mirroring his move. Riley's mind raced. Verify? For what? She stood slowly, her chair scraping against the floor. The other students stared, a mix of curiosity and unease. A feathered avian cadet whispered to her neighbor, feathers ruffling slightly. Riley felt heat creep up her neck, surprise twisting into something sharper. Yes, sir. But what's this about? A black diplomatic case floated in on anti-grav repulsors, sleek and ominous, its surface cold to the touch as it hovered before her. Biological verification required, it intoned in a neutral synth voice. Karvek nodded, his scales clicking faintly as he crossed his arms. Place your hand on the panel, cadet. No delays. Riley hesitated, her palm hovering. The hall watched, breath held. What if it's a mistake? Some glitch in the system? She pressed down, the case humming to life. A white glow spread from her fingers, scanning deep. The case beeped, then spoke clearly. Recipient confirmed. Riley Thorne, awarded the Onyx Medal for valor during the Battle of Vesper 19. Gasps echoed around the room. Riley pulled her hand back, staring at the case as if it had burned her. Vesper 19? That name. It tugged at something buried, but nothing came. Confusion deepened, her brows furrowing. The avian cadet leaned forward. Vesper what? Never heard of it. Others nodded, exchanging puzzled glances. Price stepped closer, his thoughtful face now creased with shock. That can't be right. The Onyx Medal? For a battle no one's documented? Karvek's eyes narrowed, suspicion etching his reptilian features. He tapped his comm unit, pulling up Academy records on a wrist hologram. Checking now. The display flickered, searching. Riley stood there, heart pounding, the glow from the case fading, but leaving her exposed. Why me? What battle? The silence stretched, broken only by the alarm winding down to a low tone. Price hovered nearby, his kind eyes wide. Riley's been in my class for 8 months. Solid student, but Vesper 19, that rings no bells in any history I've taught. The hologram chimed. Karvek's voice dropped, authoritative and edged with tension. No record. No cadet named Riley Thorne enrolled here. Whispers erupted, the class murmuring in unease. Riley's stomach nodded. No record? But I've been here, haven't I? Karvek gestured to the guards. Escort her to conference room Beta 9. Securely. The guards moved in, one gently but firmly taking her arm. Riley didn't resist, her mind swirling. Wait, this has to be some kind of mix-up. I don't know anything about a medal or a battle. As they let her out, the doors hissing shut behind, the lecture hall buzzed with speculation. Price watched her go, his face a mask of confusion and concern. The avian cadet shook her head. Weird. She seems so normal. Karvek lingered a moment, his golden eyes scanning the room as if daring anyone to question. Then he followed, the weight of the unknown hanging in the air like unspoken thunder. Riley walked the sleek corridors, the guards' boots echoing in sync with hers. The station's hum felt louder now, vibrations from life support systems thrumming through the floors. Windows along the way showed the void outside, stars pinpricking the black, with distant ships patrolling the neutral zone. She tried to piece it together. Onyx-level alert, a medal for valor, a battle erased from records. Her calm eyes darted, searching for answers in the polished walls. The guards said nothing, their visors reflecting her puzzled face. They passed a cluster of maintenance drones whirring about a panel, sparks flying briefly. One guard adjusted his grip on his baton, glancing at her. Keep moving. Riley nodded, swallowing. I just don't get it. I've never even been in a real fight. The words felt hollow, a faint echo in her mind suggesting otherwise. Flashes, maybe? No, just nerves. The corridor curved, leading to a secure lift. As the doors closed, the academy's daily rhythm continued above. But for Riley, everything had shifted. The lift descended smoothly, indicators blinking. Karvek joined them midway, his presence filling the small space. He studied her, suspicion lingering, but curiosity creeping in. You claim no knowledge of Vesper 19? Riley met his gaze, her voice steady despite the tremor inside. None, sir. It's like, a blank page. He grunted, scales shifting. The lift opened to a lower level, quieter, with reinforced doors. Conference room Beta 9 loomed ahead, its panel glowing red for restricted access. Inside, the room was sterile, a wide viewport dominating one wall, stars wheeling slowly beyond. Administrator Melis stood waiting, her dignified posture straight, commanding presence undeniable. Her eyes, sharp with suspicion, fixed on Riley as the guards positioned her in a chair. Melis's voice cut clean. Sit. We have questions. Riley complied, the chair cool against her back. The door sealed with a click, and the interrogation loomed, the weight of the unknown pressing down. Melis leaned on the table, her face composed but eyes probing. Who are you, really? And why does a ghost from a non-existent war bear your name? Riley opened her mouth, but words faltered. I'm just a cadet. This metal thing, it's got to be wrong. Outside the viewport, a patrol ship glided by, oblivious. Karvek stood by the door, arms crossed, watching. The air thickened with unspoken accusations, the galaxy's fragile peace teetering on this moment. Price's voice echoed in Riley's thoughts, his stammered confusion mirroring her own. The database glitch, the missing records. It all pointed to something buried deep. She glanced at the viewport, stars mocking her ignorance. Melis activated a console, pulling up the redacted file. Lines blacked out. Just that one phrase, classified, access permanently restricted. Riley's confusion spiked, mingling with a budding fear. What have I forgotten? A holographic flicker announced Admiral Ilara Voss, her image materializing strong and composed. Her voice filled the room, calm but laced with authority. The Battle of Vesper 19 was real. Riley's breath caught. Real. Voss continued, her hesitation brief. Humanity won against 12 fleets, but at what cost? The planet destroyed, the erasure for peace. Riley trembled. If it's erased, why me? Why am I here? Voss's eyes softened. You survived. The only one. We hid you to keep the secret. The words landed like a blow, Riley's world fracturing. Outside, shadows of gathering ships hinted at trouble brewing. Malis's conflict showed in her furrowed brow. Peace on lies. Is it worth it? Her voice soft, resolute. From the hall, a young Saurian guard gripped his weapon, uneasy, pondering Riley's calm as threat or tragedy. The room pulsed with tension, the stars watching indifferently. Riley sat rigid in the sterile chair, the cold metal biting through her cadet uniform. Conference room Beta 9 felt like a void, its wide viewport framing a galaxy that suddenly seemed too vast, too heavy. The stars outside spun slowly, indifferent to the storm brewing in her chest. Confusion churned with a creeping fear, her calm eyes darting between Administrator Malis and the holographic form of Admiral Ilara Voss. Malis's sharp gaze pinned her, suspicion etched in every line of her dignified face. Why is your name tied to a war medal that shouldn't exist? Malis asked, her voice cutting like a blade, steady but laced with doubt. Riley's hands clenched in her lap, fingers twisting. I don't know, ma'am. I'm just a cadet. This Vesper 19 thing, it's like it's not even real. Her voice trembled, betraying the fear that bubbled up as she spoke. She glanced at Commander Karvak, who stood by the sealed door, his green scales glinting faintly under the room's harsh lights. His golden eyes watched her, suspicion still there, but softening, a flicker of curiosity breaking through. The young Saurian guard outside, visible through a narrow window, gripped his stun baton tighter, his unease palpable. Was she a threat? A victim? He couldn't tell, and that uncertainty gnawed at him. Malis tapped the console, pulling up the Vesper 19 file. The screen flickered, revealing nothing but blacked-out lines, a single sentence glowing in stark white. Classified. Access permanently restricted. Riley's breath hitched, her confusion deepening into a cold knot in her stomach. That's it? She whispered, almost to herself. Malis's lips tightened, her conflict showing in the slight furrow of her brow. This makes no sense, she said, voice soft but resolute, as if wrestling with the idea that peace might rest on a lie. She turned to Voss's hologram, demanding answers. Voss stood tall in her projected form, her face composed but heavy with regret. The Battle of Vesper 19 was real, she said, her voice calm yet weighted, each word deliberate. Humanity fought 12 allied fleets of the Concord. We won, but the planet, it was obliterated. 3 million lives gone. She hesitated, her eyes flickering with a softness that betrayed her burden. To preserve peace, we all agreed to erase it. Every record, every trace, gone. Riley's heart pounded, fear spiking as fragments of memory, screams, fire, a planet cracking, flashed unbidden in her mind. She shook her head, voice trembling. If that's true, why am I still alive? Voss's gaze softened further, almost pained. You were the only survivor, Riley. We erased your identity to protect the secret. No one was supposed to know. The words landed like a physical blow, Riley's breath catching as her world tilted. Survivor? Erased? Her calm eyes clouded, fear mingling with a desperate need to understand. She glanced at the viewport, where shadows of ships, over 200, human and Concord alike, gathered in the void, their hulls glinting ominously. The young Saurian guard outside shifted, his grip tightening, unease growing as he overheard Voss's words through the comm feed. A human survivor of a hidden war? His scales bristled, torn between duty and doubt. Malus leaned back, her commanding presence wavering as she processed Voss's revelation. Hiding the truth might preserve peace, she said, her voice low, almost a whisper. But is that peace even real? Her conflict was clear, her stern facade cracking under the weight of morality. Karvik shifted by the door, his suspicion easing into something closer to empathy as he watched Riley's trembling hands. The room's air felt thick, the hum of the station's systems underscoring the tension. Riley's mind raced, grasping at the edges of her erased past. I don't remember any of this, she said, voice breaking. How can I be part of something I don't even know? Voss's hologram flickered slightly, her calm regret giving way to urgency. You were kept hidden for a reason, Riley. Your existence could unravel everything. The words stung, and Riley's fear sharpened into a quiet defiance. Unravel everything? Why me? She looked at Malus, searching for an ally. If this is true, then why hide it? Why not just tell people? Malus's eyes met hers, and for a moment, a flicker of empathy passed between them. But Malus's duty held firm, her voice steadying. Because the Concord's unity depends on that silence, and so does humanity's place in it. Outside, the fleets grew closer, their shields glowing faintly against the black. The station's sensors pinged softly, tracking 50 human warships facing 150 Concord vessels, a standoff that could spark chaos across 12 star systems. The young guard outside swallowed hard, his thoughts racing. If she's telling the truth, what does that make us? He glanced at his comm unit, where reports of fleet movements buzzed, amplifying his unease. Inside, Riley felt the weight of eyes, human, saurian, holographic, pressing on her. She was a cadet, not a soldier, yet here she was, the center of a galactic fault line. Karvik stepped closer, his voice softer now, less commanding. The Concord fears you, cadet. One human, one name could break their pride. His empathy showed in the slight tilt of his head, scales catching the light. Riley's confusion wavered, a spark of compassion for the galaxy's fragile peace stirring within her. I didn't ask for this, she said, her voice steadier now, though fear lingered. But if I'm some kind of proof, then what happens next? Malus exchanged a glance with Voss, her conflict deepening. We find out who you really are, she said, and what that means for all of us. The viewport showed more ships arriving, their formations tightening. Riley's gaze lingered on the stars, her heart heavy with questions. The young guard outside shifted again, his unease now a quiet dread. He'd trained for threats, not mysteries like this. Malus activated the console again, pulling up restricted channels. Admiral, we need more than words. If Riley's the key, we need the whole story. Voss nodded, her regret palpable. Then brace yourselves. The truth isn't kind. Riley's hands unclenched slightly, her fear mingling with a growing resolve. Whatever Vesper 19 was, it was part of her, buried deep. The station hummed, its shields faintly buzzing, as the fleets loomed closer. Karvik watched her, his suspicion now a cautious respect. Malus's stern face softened, just a fraction, as she saw Riley's trembling resolve. The young guard outside muttered to his partner, voice low. She doesn't look like a threat, but what if she's the spark? The question hung, unanswered, as the room braced for what came next. Riley stared at the viewport, the stars blurring as doubt clouded her vision. The interrogation had ended abruptly, Malus dismissing her to a holding room nearby, a small chamber with reinforced walls and a single bench. Alone now, she paced slowly, her footsteps echoing softly in the confined space, The weight of Voss's words pressed down her erased identity, unraveling like a frayed cable. Survivor, hidden, the only one. Her calm eyes, usually steady, now reflected a storm of uncertainty. She sank onto the bench, hands trembling as she gazed out at the void, grappling with a past she couldn't grasp. Fragmented memories surfaced unbidden, flashes that made her breath catch. A burning planet, crimson cracks spreading across its surface like veins. Screams echoing in her helmet, muffled by static. A hand pressing a metal into hers, warm against the cold of space. Riley shook her head, doubt deepening into an ache in her chest. Was that real, she murmured to herself, or just echoes from stories she'd heard? She questioned everything now, if she was a pawn in some galactic game or a key to unlocking it all. Her compassion stirred, a quiet fear for the lives hanging in the balance. Another war? Because of me? A data pad lay on a side table, its screen glowing faintly with restricted access warnings. Riley picked it up, fingers brushing the cool surface. Encrypted files blinked. Vesper 19 survivor protocols. She tried swiping through, but red denials flashed back. Inaccessible. Frustration mixed with her doubt, her brows furrowing. Why hide this from me? Outside the door, guards whispered, their voices low but carrying through the vent. Fleets are massing, tensions rising. If she talks, it all blows. Their anxiety laced the words, a hushed urgency that mirrored the knot in Riley's stomach. She set the pad down, compassion swelling as she thought of the Academy's 5,000 souls, the fragile peace teetering. I fear another war, she whispered, the weight of a truth she barely understood settling heavy. But beneath the doubt, a spark of resolve flickered. If she was proof, maybe she could stop it. The door hissed open and Commander Karvak entered, his towering frame filling the threshold. His suspicion had softened, golden eyes now holding a glint of empathy as he saw her hunched form, genuine confusion etched on her face. Karvak approached slowly, his scales clicking with each step. "Cadet! Thorne!" he said, voice rumbling low, less accusatory now. He hesitated, crossing his arms. "You look lost." Riley looked up, her eyes meeting his. Doubt lingered, but she nodded. "I am, sir. This, all of it. It's like waking up in someone else's life." Karvek's empathy showed in the slight tilt of his head, his earlier edge dulled. He shared, voice measured, "The Concord of 12 Species. They fear you. Your existence could unravel our fragile alliance. Unsurvivor, one truth, and pride crumbles." Riley's compassion deepened, seeing the conflict in his reptilian features. "But if peace is built on lies, is it worth keeping?" She asked it softly, her voice steadying with resolve. Karvek hesitated, unable to answer right away. His golden eyes flickered, empathy warring with duty. "Well, peace has kept us from the brink for years." But his words trailed, uncertainty in the pause. The guards outside whispered again, their anxiety rising with reports crackling over comms. "Human ships closing in. Concord responding. This could escalate fast." The room's comm system buzzed suddenly, reports flooding in. "Fleet movements detected. Human vessels at 50 strong. Concord at 150. Shields active." Riley stood, her doubt giving way to a firmer resolve. "Sir, if I'm the cause, I need to know more." Karvak nodded slowly, his empathy clear. "Perhaps you do. Trickery." He stepped aside as Malus entered from the hall, her dignified stride purposeful. But Riley's focus shifted back to the viewport, where the fleets converged, faint glows of shields painting the stars. Malus glanced at Karvak, then at Riley. "We've briefed the senior officers. Vesper 19's erasure, it was mutual, to avoid mutual destruction." Her voice held its commanding tone, but conflict lingered in her eyes, a multi-dimensional shift. In a nearby Concord cruiser, a pilot gripped the controls, torn between pride in their unity and the haunting rumors of a covered-up war. If it's true, what does that make our history? The pilot muttered, fingers hovering over weapon systems. Riley was brought to the command center, holographic maps swirling with fleet positions tightening around the station. Ilara Voss's hologram reappeared, her calm urgency evident. Keep her silent, Administrator. Chaos would follow. Riley overheard, a surge of resolve igniting. The truth must be shared, not buried. She clenched her fists, compassion for the potential victims fueling her. Maelis, torn between duty and morality, ordered, "Remain under guard, but you can speak privately, for now." Riley confided in Professor Price, who joined them, his thoughtful face creased with trouble. "History's gaps. They've always haunted me," he admitted, voice kind but heavy. He shared a forbidden text on his pad, hinting at Vesper 19's scale, a planet of 3 million reduced to ash. Riley's doubt wavered further, resolve hardening. The Academy's lights flickered, the station's shield straining under the fleet's proximity. Guards outside exchanged anxious glances, whispers urgent. One spark, and it's over. In his office, Price reflected alone, feeling powerless yet inspired by Riley's quiet strength. This betrayal of knowledge, but she could fix it. Back in the center, Carvex supported her subtly, his empathy growing. The air hummed with tension, the galaxy's fate hanging on threads. Riley prepared inwardly, heart racing, but purpose clear. The stars outside pulsed, as if echoing the building storm. Through the command center's wide viewport, Riley watched the stars give way to the ominous dance of warships. 50 human vessels hung in formation, their sleek hulls catching faint glints from the station's lights, facing off against 150 Concord ships, shields glowing a soft blue haze against the black. Her resolve hardened, but fear lingered like a shadow, twisting in her gut at the thought of one wrong move sparking catastrophe. She stood there flanked by guards, her short black hair disheveled from the day's chaos, calm eyes now sharp with purpose. The air hummed with the station's systems, sensors pinging as positions tightened. Administrator Maelis paced before the holographic maps, her dignified frame tense as she briefed the senior officers clustered around. Vesper 19's erasure? It was a mutual pact, she said, voice commanding but edged with conflict. To stave off mutual destruction, humanity's win came at too high a cost, and the Concord couldn't bear the shame. Her eyes flickered, torn between duty to the Alliance and a growing moral pull toward transparency. Officers nodded, murmurs rippling, but Milas's hands clenched subtly, betraying her inner war. A multi-dimensional shift. Aboard a nearby Concord cruiser, a pilot strapped into the cockpit gripped the controls, fingers white-knuckled. Pride in their unified fleet swelled in his chest, the Concord's emblem on his console a badge of strength. Yet rumors of a covered-up war haunted him, a gnawing doubt that chipped at his loyalty. If we lost once, what are we hiding? He muttered to himself, scanning the human ships opposite, torn between defending the pact and questioning its foundation. Riley was ushered closer to the maps, the holograms swirling with red and blue icons marking fleet positions, squeezing the station like a vice. Her fear spiked at the scale, but resolve pushed her forward. "This can't end in fire," she whispered, compassion for the crews on both sides fueling her. Ilara Voss's hologram flickered back to life, larger now, her strong features composed but urgency sharpening her voice. "Administrator, keep Riley silent. One word from her, and chaos erupts across the systems." Voss's authority rang clear, but a hint of protective strain showed in her eyes, as if shielding a fragile secret. Riley overheard, the words igniting a surge of resolve that overpowered her fear. The truth must be shared, not buried like some relic. She turned to Maelis, voice steady despite the tremor inside. "Ma'am." Ah, if silence breeds mistrust, then let me speak. Hiding won't save us. Malice paused, her stern gaze meeting Riley's, torn between the orders from above and the moral tug of Riley's plea. Duty demanded compliance, but something in Riley's eyes stirred empathy. Remain under guard, Malice ordered finally, voice resolute but soft. But you can speak privately for now. She allowed it, a concession that weighed heavy on her. Riley nodded, her resolve deepening as she confided in Professor Price, who hovered nearby, his middle-aged face etched with troubled curiosity. He adjusted his glasses, leaning in. History's gaps. They've always nagged at me like missing pieces in a puzzle, he admitted, voice kind but heavy with unease. I never imagined something this big buried. Price pulled up a forbidden text on his datapad, scrolling to a faded entry. Here, it hints at Vesper 19's scale, a planet of 3 million souls reduced to ash in the crossfire. His eyes widened behind the lenses, curiosity mingling with a deep trouble at the betrayal of knowledge. Riley absorbed the words, her fear for the potential repeat twisting sharper, but resolve held firm. If we ignore this, it'll happen again, she said softly, compassion evident in her tone. Price nodded, inspired despite his powerlessness. You're right. But what can one voice do against fleets? The Academy's lights flickered then, a brief stutter as the station shields strained under the fleet's proximity. Energy fields humming louder. Alarms chirped softly, warnings of power draws. Guards shifted uneasily, their anxiety from earlier reports now a palpable tension. Commander Karvak stood by, his golden eyes watching Riley with a softening empathy. Suspicion long faded. He grunted approval at her words, scales shifting. Brave talk, cadet, but the Concord's pride runs deep. Outside, the ships loom closer, a single misfire away from igniting war across 12 star systems. Melis glanced at the viewport, her conflict deepening as she saw the standoff. We tread carefully, she said, voice low, morality pulling against the chain of command. In his office down the hall, Price sat alone, reflecting on the erasure's betrayal to his life's work. All these years teaching half-truths, and she, a cadet, holds the key. Powerless frustration gnawed, yet Riley's quiet strength inspired a spark of hope. He jotted notes, curiosity driving him despite the trouble. Back in the center, Riley insisted further, her heart racing. Let me address them. Silence only breeds more mistrust. Karvak, now fully sympathetic, nodded. Her courage, it outweighs the risk, he rumbled to Malus, respect clear in his tone. Malus hesitated, her torn expression lingering before she relented. Fine. Access to an open channel, but monitored. She granted it reluctantly, duty bending under moral weight. The fleets outside grew restless, thrusters firing in micro-adjustments, a dance on the edge of violence. Riley prepared her speech inwardly, heart pounding but voice steady with purpose. Fear still whispered, but resolve drowned it out. The stars beyond seemed to pulse, echoing the building drama. Voss's hologram watched, urgency in her authoritative stance. This is dangerous, she warned, but Melis held firm. The station's hum intensified, shields flickering again. Riley stepped toward the comm panel, resolve shining through her fear. Whatever came next, the truth would surface. Riley walked back to conference room Beta 9 under escort, the guard's steps echoing hers in the quiet corridor. Her resolve burned steady now, purpose guiding each footfall despite the heart-racing fear that lingered from the command center's tense maps. The viewport along the way showed the fleets hanging like storm clouds, restless shadows against the stars. She entered the room, the door hissing shut, and her eyes fell on the black diplomatic case. It sat unlocked now on the table, its lid open, glowing screens displaying Vesper 19's battle records in crisp detail. Riley approached slowly, her breath catching. It's Open, she murmured, resolve pushing her closer. The records scrolled automatically, lines of text and faint holograms detailing humanity's victory. A desperate tactic had turned the tide. A core-penetrating strike that shattered Vesper 19's crust, sending seismic waves ripping through the planet's mantle. Riley's fingers traced the air above the display, purpose sharpening as fragments of memory aligned with the words. Flashes of orders barked in chaos, ships weaving through debris. Her role emerged clear, a junior officer who rallied scattered survivors, coordinating a final push that clinched the win and earned her the Onyx Medal. I did that, she whispered, voice steady but heart-pounding with the weight of it. Malus entered behind her, her dignified steps measured, commanding presence filling the space. But reluctance softened her sharp eyes, empathy creeping in as she saw Riley's absorbed gaze. "The Concord fears you, Riley," Malus said, voice low and resolute. "Your survival. It proves their defeat, threatens their pride, their unity. One living witness, and the Alliance frays." Riley turned, purpose firm in her stance. "Then why keep it buried? If I'm proof, let me show it." Milas's empathy showed in a brief pause, her lips tightening as she weighed the revelation's cost. A multi-dimensional shift. In his office, Professor Price sat hunched over his desk, the forbidden text still open on his pad. He reflected on history's erasure, a deep betrayal to his life's work that left him feeling powerless, like a scholar adrift in fabricated tales. All these lessons, built on sand, he muttered, fingers drumming. Yet Riley inspired him, her quiet strength a beacon amid the gaps. She could rewrite it all, he thought, a spark of hope cutting through the frustration. Riley straightened, insisting now with a voice laced with purpose. "I need to address both fleets." "Silence. It only breeds mistrust, ma'am. We've seen where that leads." Her heart raced, but resolve held her words steady, embracing her role as the galaxy's unwilling key. Carvec, standing by the door, nodded slowly, his sympathy full now, respect gleaming in his golden eyes. "She's right," he rumbled, voice supportive. "Her courage, it outweighs the risk. Let her speak." His scales shifted slightly, empathy for her burden clear. Malus hesitated, her reluctance evident in the furrow of her brow, torn between our protocol and the empathy Riley's argument stirred. "This could unravel everything," she said softly, but seeing the mistrust's potential fallout, she relented. "Fine, access to an open broadcast channel, but we monitor every word." She granted it, her voice steady despite the inner pull. Riley's purpose surged, a quiet nod, her thanks. Outside, the fleets grew restless, thrusters firing in uneasy adjustments, shields flickering as tensions mounted. A single misfire, and war could ignite across 12-star systems, billions at stake. Riley moved to the comm panel, preparing her speech inwardly. Her heart raced like a drum in her chest, but her voice would be steady, purpose anchoring her. "The truth? It's time," she whispered to herself, fingers hovering over the controls. Malus watched, reluctant empathy softening her stern facade further. Carvec stood sentinel, his respect a silent bolster. Price in his office sensed the shift through station comms, his inspiration growing. "This is history unfolding," he thought, powerless no more in spirit. The room's air thickened, the hum of systems underscoring the moment. Riley glanced at the viewport, the ship's glows a reminder of the edge they balanced on. Resolve pushed fear aside, her calm eyes focused. Malus adjusted the channel settings, her hands steady. "Broadcast ready. Make it count." Carvec grunted approval. The fleets outside loomed, a powder keg waiting. Riley drew a breath, purpose clear. Voss's hologram flickered in briefly, urgency in her voice. "Reconsider this." But Malus waved it off, empathy winning. Riley's fingers touched the panel, heart thumping but resolve unyielding. The stars beyond seemed to hold still, awaiting her words. Riley stood before the comm panel in conference room Beta 9, the sterile chamber now pulsing with the weight of her resolve. Her fingers brushed the controls, heart hammering like a war drum, but her voice held steady, anchored by a courage that drowned out fear. The broadcast channel hummed to life, her words set to reach over 200 ships, 50 human, 150 Concord in the Academy's 5,000 personnel. The viewport showed the fleets frozen in their standoff, shields glowing faintly against the void, a single spark away from chaos. She took a deep breath, her calm eyes narrowing with purpose. "This is it," she whispered, steady despite the storm inside. She pressed the activation key and her voice carried clear across the stars. "The Battle of Vesper 19 happened. I am proof, a survivor of a war you erased." The words rang with steady courage, each syllable deliberate, cutting through the silence. 12 years ago, humanity fought 12 allied fleets. We won, but at a cost. A planet lost, 3 million souls gone, reduced to ash. Her voice wavered slightly, urgency pleading through as she recounted the toll, compassion for those lost, fueling her. "You buried the truth to avoid shame, to keep peace. But I'm here. It was real." Across the fleets, her words landed like ripples on still water. A multi-dimensional shift. On a conquered lead ship, an officer clenched his fists, rage flaring at the revelation of their defeat, his pride wounded. "They hid this?" he growled, scales bristling. But as Riley's voice continued, shame crept in, heavy and cold, realizing his leaders had erased their failure to save face. He glanced at his crew, their faces mirroring his turmoil, some lowering their heads in quiet disgrace. In the human ships, crew members listened, heads bowing as half-forgotten stories of valor stirred in their minds. A captain in a command chair leaned forward, reflective sorrow in his eyes. "My father, he spoke of a battle like that once," he murmured, memories of whispered tales surfacing. Riley's voice pressed on, pleading urgency now. "Hiding the past will only bring another war. Truth, it's our only way forward." Her words trembled with conviction, compassion for the lives at stake shining through, resolve unbreaking. In the academy, Melis stood by the viewport, her stern facade softening as she watched the broadcast's effect. Moved relief flickered in her eyes as some Concord vessels began powering down weapons, their shields dimming. "She's doing it," Melis whispered, her conflict easing into awe. Karvek near the door nodded, his respect for Riley's resolve clear in his steady gaze, golden eyes glinting. The room's air felt electric, the station's hum underscoring the tension. Riley's broadcast sparked murmurs across ships, a low buzz of reaction spreading. A human captain signaled agreement, his ship's plasma cannons deactivating with a soft whine, the glow fading from his vessel's hull. "She's right," he said over his comm, sorrow giving way to hope. "No more hiding." Other human ships followed, their weapon arrays dimming in unison, a silent vote for peace. On the Concord side, more ships powered down, the lead officer's shame settling into reluctant acceptance. "Stand down," he ordered, voice heavy, his crew complying as the truth sank in. Riley stood tall, her heart still racing, but courage unwavering. "We buried history out of fear, not justice," she continued, voice steady now, urgency softening into a plea. "If we keep hiding, the next war will come, just with a different name." The broadcast hummed, her words echoing across the void. Melis watched, relief fully taking hold as the fleet's tension eased, the standoff dissolving. "Remarkable," she murmured, her commanding presence softened by Riley's impact. Karvek stepped closer, his scales clicking faintly, respect shining. "You've shifted the stars, cadet," he rumbled, voice low but warm. The guards outside, Their earlier anxiety fading, exchanged glances, one whispering, "She stopped it," just with words. The station's sensors chirped, confirming the fleet's de-escalation. Shields powering down across the board. Riley exhaled, her resolve holding but exhaustion creeping in, a quiet tremor in her hands. A tense silence fell, every eye on the fleets through viewports and screens, waiting for the final shift. The stars outside seemed to brighten, as if exhaling with the galaxy. Riley's voice softened, her final words a whisper over the comm. "Let's choose truth, not war." She stepped back, heart still pounding, purpose fulfilled but the weight of her role lingering. Malus nodded slowly, relief and respect blending in her gaze. The moment held, fragile but unbroken, the galaxy poised on the edge of something new. Admiral Ilara Voss's hologram flickered into the room, her strong features steady but softened by acceptance. "Riley speaks the truth," she said, voice resolute, no trace of hesitation now. "We can't hide anymore." The words carried weight, a promise of change. Riley met her gaze through the hologram, exhaustion settling but hope rising, a spark in her calm eyes. The fleets outside stood silent, weapons cold, the void holding its breath for what came next. The silence in conference room Beta 9 stretched, heavy with the echo of Riley's broadcast. Her words still reverberated across the fleets, the comm panel's soft hum the only sound as she stepped back, exhaustion seeping into her bones. Her heart slowed, the frantic rhythm easing, but her resolve held firm, now softened by a budding hope. Through the viewport, the fleets, 50 human warships and 150 Concord vessels, hung in the void, their shields dimmed, weapons powered down. The stars gleamed brighter, as if the galaxy exhaled in relief. Riley's calm eyes traced their light, her role as a living secret lifting, replaced by a quiet belief that truth could rebuild what fear had buried. Admiral Ilara Voss's hologram solidified in the room, her strong features steady with a newfound resolve. "Riley speaks the truth," she said, voice clear and unwavering, acceptance replacing her earlier urgency. "We can't hide anymore. The Battle of Vesper 19, it happened. Humanity won, and we all paid the price." She paused, her eyes softening with responsibility. "I propose the Vesper Accord, a treaty to acknowledge the past, to commit to transparency." Her words carried a weight that filled the room, a promise to face history rather than erase it. Malus stood by the viewport, her dignified posture softening as relief washed over her. She nodded, moved by Riley's courage, her earlier conflict dissolving into commitment. "The Academy supports this," she said, voice resolute but warm, her stern facade fully gone. "We signed for truth." She activated a console, preparing to formalize the accord, her hands steady as she typed. Carvec near the door saluted Riley, his golden eyes gleaming with respect, suspicion long replaced by admiration. "You've done it, cadet," he rumbled, voice low but proud. "Saved us all." Outside, the Concord flagship's shields flickered off first, a bold signal of agreement after heated debate among its leaders. The human fleets followed, their 50 ships dimming their weapon arrays in unison, a synchronized gesture that spoke of unity. Riley watched, her exhaustion deepening, but hope swelling like a tide. The station sensors chirped, confirming the de-escalation, the standoff dissolving into calm. The Academy's crew, scattered across control rooms and halls, erupted in quiet relief, murmurs of awe spreading. "She stopped a war with words," a technician whispered, voice hushed with wonder. Malus signed the accord on a holographic pad, her signature glowing as it transmitted galaxy-wide. "For the Nexus Sigma 5, she said, her relief now a steady commitment to the new path. Riley's hands trembled slightly, the weight of her role lifting fully, hope now a warmth in her chest. She glanced at Carvec, who nodded, his respect a silent anchor. "Truth will be our foundation. Alara's hologram added, her voice steady with resolve. Riley, you've reminded us of that. Her eyes met Riley's through the projection, a flicker of gratitude in her composed gaze. The Accord's broadcast rippled across the stars, reaching the 12 systems of the Concord and beyond. Ships began to disperse, thrusters firing gently as formations broke apart. War averted. In the command center, officers exchanged nods, relief palpable in their loosened shoulders. A young Saurian guard outside, his earlier unease gone, smiled faintly to his partner. She's no threat. She's a hero, he said, voice soft with gratitude. Riley stood still, exhaustion wrapping her like a cloak, but hope kept her upright, her calm eyes bright with the promise of change. Malus approached her, voice softer now. You've changed everything, Riley. The galaxy, it owes you. Her relief was clear, tinged with respect, as she placed a hand on Riley's shoulder. Riley managed a tired smile, hope outweighing the weight of her role. I just, wanted the truth out, she said, voice quiet but steady. Karvek grunted approval, his respect deepening. And you did. More than most could. The room's hum softened, the station's systems stabilizing as the crisis passed. Ilara's hologram lingered, her final words carrying across the room. The Vesper Accord marks a new era. No more secrets. She faded out, her resolve echoing. Riley glanced at the viewport, the stars now a canvas of possibility rather than threat. The Academy buzzed with quiet activity, crew members resuming duties, but the air felt different. Lighter, hopeful. Malus turned to her console, coordinating with the fleet's departure, her commitment to the Accord unwavering. Riley's exhaustion settled deeper, her legs heavy as she leaned against the table. Hope glowed within her, but the toll of the day pressed hard. She thought of the 3 million lost on Vesper 19, her compassion stirring for those forgotten. No more hiding, she whispered, a vow to herself. Karvek watched her, his salute lingering in memory, respect a bond forged in crisis. The stars outside wheeled slowly, the galaxy turning toward a new chapter, one Riley had written with her voice. The station's corridors hummed with life again, cadets and officers whispering about the broadcast. Riley's name carried on their lips, a quiet legend forming. She stepped toward the door, ready for whatever came next. Hope her guide. Riley stood alone in the docking bay of Nexus Sigma-5, a small pack slung over her shoulder, the weight of it grounding her as exhaustion clung to her frame. The cavernous bay hummed with the low thrum of shuttles prepping for departure. Maintenance drones whirring past, their lights blinking in the dim glow. Her short black hair fell slightly into her eyes, but her calm gaze remained fixed on the stars visible through the bay's massive viewport. Hope warmed her chest, a quiet acceptance settling in after the storm of the day. She'd spoken the truth, and the galaxy had listened. No war, no bloodshed, just a new accord. Yet the weight of being a living secret lingered, softened now by the knowledge that her words had mattered. The station buzzed with normalcy, but whispers followed her. Cadets passing through the bay glanced her way, their voices low with awe. That's her, the one who stopped the fleets, a young human muttered, eyes wide. Another, a feathered avian, nodded. Changed history just like that. Riley caught their words, her lips twitching in a faint smile, but acceptance kept her steady. She didn't need their praise. The truth was out, and that was enough. Her role as a cadet, a survivor, a spark was done here. Administrator Malus approached, her dignified stride softer now, her commanding presence tempered by gratitude. Her sharp eyes held respect, relief still evident from the averted crisis. Riley, she said, voice warm but firm, the Academy could use someone like you. Stay, train others. Your courage. It's rare. She offered it sincerely, a hand extended in invitation. Riley met her gaze, hope flickering, but acceptance guiding her reply. Thank you, ma'am, she said softly, but I don't think I belong here anymore. Her voice was quiet, steady, the decision final. Milas nodded, respect deepening in her expression. I understand, she said, a faint smile breaking through. Wherever you go, you've left your mark. She stepped back, her relief now a quiet pride in Riley's choice. Riley turned toward a small shuttle waiting at the bay's edge, its hull unmarked, destination unlisted. Her calm eyes lingered on the stars, hope carrying her forward despite the exhaustion weighing her legs. She boarded, the ramp hissing shut behind her, sealing her from the Academy's hum. In his office, Professor Price stood at a viewport, watching the shuttle's silhouette against the stars. His thoughtful face creased with reflective admiration as he opened his private journal, stylus moving swiftly. Riley Thorne, he wrote, a cadet who became history's voice. The truth endures because of her. His inspiration from her strength glowed, cutting through the powerless frustration of erased histories. He glanced up, noting her shuttle's departure, a quiet nod to her legacy. She's more than a survivor, he murmured, admiration steady. Commander Karvek, now a friend, sent a message via his comm unit as the shuttle powered up. Your truth saved us, Riley. His deep voice rumbled through the device, gratitude clear. Wherever you go, you're not forgotten. His respect shone through, the suspicion of hours ago replaced by a bond forged in crisis. Riley listened, a tired smile crossing her face as she settled into the shuttle seat. Hope warmed her, acceptance of her path settling deep. The shuttle's engines hummed, thrusters glowing as it prepared to slip into hyperspace. The craft lifted off, gliding past the viewport where Price watched, his journal still open. The station's corridors buzzed with cadets returning to routine, but Riley's name lingered in their whispers, a quiet legend taking root. Across the galaxy, the Vesper Accord sparked new talks, the 12 species pledging openness in broadcasts rippling through star systems. Riley's shuttle accelerated, the stars stretching into streaks as it entered hyperspace, leaving Nexus Sigma-5 behind. Her calm eyes stayed on the viewport, hope a steady light within her. The galaxy turned, its fragile peace now built on truth. The Accord's terms echoed in diplomatic channels, a commitment to transparency binding human and Concord alike. Riley's role faded into the void, but her impact endured, a symbol of courage over silence. In the Academy, Malus oversaw operations, her gratitude for Riley's choice a quiet undercurrent in her work. Karvek patrolled the halls, his respect for the cadet who shifted the stars a private vow to honor truth. Price closed his journal, admiration a spark he'd carry into his teachings. Riley leaned back in her seat, the shuttle's hum lulling her. Exhaustion tugged, but hope kept her eyes open, fixed on the endless stars. She didn't know where she was going, only that it was forward, away from the Academy, away from being a secret. Her name would live on, whispered in halls and ships, a reminder of what one voice could do. The stars blurred past, a canvas of possibility, their light a silent promise that truth endured beyond any one person. The shuttle vanished into the void, and the galaxy kept turning, its history forever changed.